Hello YouTubers and welcome aboard. I am Noob Flyboy X and welcome back to F1 2018 Career Mode. It's time for the Italian Grand Prix this time, and we didn't do so well last year because of some crashes in the late laps, but I'm hoping I can do better this time. Taking a look at an interesting email from Carl, it looks like we've got another regulations change at the end of this season. Looks like it's going to mainly affect the aerodynamics, or so that email, that is only a rumor at this point, says. But here we are looking at the performance chart, and we're still pretty close to the bottom. Toro Rosso is actually ahead of us for the time being, and it is Haas, who is currently the lowest performing car on the circuit. Red Bull having a considerable margin at the top. But in any case, we're going to have to make the most of what we got anyway. So here we are in Q1, trying to make our first lap count. And there we go. That's not a great lap, but it's not a bad one either. That'll get us through in P6. For some reason it showed us in P7 when we went through there, but for some reason we improved without setting another lap time, and Lance Stroll will actually succeed in joining us in Q2, so that's pretty good. First lap in Q2 is not very good. We go for another lap immediately afterwards as everyone else is still improving. We improve by nearly a full second. We're up to 8th place, so that's pretty darn good. A little later on though, I've fallen out of the top 10 and I decide, you know what, to heck with strategy. I'm going to go for the softest tire, and I improve by more than a full second that time. So there we go. We make it through Q2 into Q3. Unfortunately, Lance will not be joining us. He'll be down in 15th. Here we go in Q3, excuse me, I was about to call it Q1. There we go, we set the fastest lap initially, but we're going to fall to 6th position. Still, that's not bad. It's a decent place to start for the race ahead.
It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethard beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. There were 40 overtakes for the lead alone in 1965, and Kimi Raikkonen clocked a record top speed of 230 miles per hour here, just over a decade ago. So there's a lot to live up to then for all of our drivers today. Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo, Iceman, Raikkonen, Sainz, Leclerc and Nico Hülkenberg. Verstappen, Bottas, Marcus Ericsson and Magnussen, Stroll, Grosjean, Fernando Alonso and Stoffel van Dorn. Gasly and Brendan Hartley rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
You can run side by side into the Rettifilio, but don't brake too late on these cold tyres or you will hit someone.
Alrighty Jeff, no worries. Here we are looking at strategy. It turns out that we didn't really need to do anything in terms of strategy because on the softest tire we can go to mediums. That'll do pretty well for us as the lights go out. Here we go for the Italian Grand Prix, and it's a decent getaway at first. Flick it up into rich revs for the second phase of the start here. Kimi Raikkonen on our outside, starting just behind us. We make a dive to try to get up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, though. He's pretty good around the outside of that chicane there, the first part and the inside of the second. So there we go, we're going to have to slot in behind him, and Kimi Raikkonen has some good acceleration out of that chicane, challenging me around my outside as we go into, I can't remember still if this is Parabolica or Curva Grande. I'm really not sure. I think that's Curva Grande, and Parabolica is at the far end of the track. Bit of contact there as we went in a bit too hot to the second chicane. So we touched the back of Daniel Ricciardo, but no damage to the front wing. Seemed to be tire face to the side of the front wing, so not a puncture for him and no damage for us, fortunately. We're going to have to keep watching out for that, though, because it is a fairly narrow track here at Monza. It's built for cars from pretty way back when. So we're going to have to make sure that we stay on a good position and not make the wide cars too much of an issue. Here we are in the beginning of lap 2, and Kimi Raikkonen is already trying to attack us again. That Ferrari is pretty slippery in a straight line as we head down the front straightaway, but he brakes a little early into the first chicane, and I brake a little later, trying to go up at the outside and then inside of Daniel Ricciardo again. Again, Raikkonen has some pretty good acceleration, but this time I've got the better line, so I'm able to keep ahead of him. On the middle of lap 2, again, Kimi Raikkonen is coming at me up into, darn it, I've already forgotten the name of this second part. This is Ascari, that's it. Up in the hill into Ascari, Raikkonen's giving it a shot, but I managed to hang on to it. He gets a much better launch out of it, as does Charles Leclerc behind him. Leclerc is going to try to follow Kimi Räikkönen through on me here, but as we head into the Parabolica, they're going to brake a little bit early. I have just enough space on the inside there. There's a little bit of contact with our side pods, but nothing major. DRS is not active just yet, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. They do still have good pace as we head down the front straightaway. DRS has just been enabled, but they don't have it just because we're coming off that last lap. Räikkönen gets right up to the back of me and then has to back out because Leclerc has boxed him in. But Leclerc can't quite make the move on me either, so we're good for now. We accelerate then out of the first chicane again. On lap 4, here comes Räikkönen once more. Again, he tries, but he can't quite make the move work into the first chicane there. I'm thinking he's probably going to have to wait for another opportunity to get me. Leclerc has actually passed him, though, on lap 6. And though they're a little ways behind me, I've managed to finally catch up to this group in front of me. Daniel Ricciardo has made some progress, passing both Esteban Ocon in the Force India and Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. I've caught up to them. I'm hoping to make some progress, but there's yellow flags into the Curva Grande. It's one of the Ferraris. Sebastian Vettel has had an engine failure at the team's home Grand Prix. The only real hope for good Ferrari points there, because Räikkönen is a ways down the field and struggling. So he is out. A little later, in that same spot, we make a move up the inside of Lewis Hamilton into the first chicane, back out early and go for a little bit of a switchback maneuver. He can't get his acceleration down as well against Esteban Ocon. We move to the outside now for the first Lesmo, but we can't quite get it done there. Hamilton will slot back in front of us. He'll hold on to that position. We'll continue battling up until lap 8 here. Ocon and Ricciardo up ahead of us have gotten away pretty well. I want to get past Hamilton so I can get on after them, and there we go, this time around the outside, leave him room on the inside of the chicane there, and see if I can accelerate away, and he'll have to deal with a group of cars behind him. But he's actually leading that group of cars in a train with slipstream and the, I believe, superior power at this point of the factory Mercedes car. Leclerc up my inside there, a little bit of a lockup from Hamilton as I tap the back of him, give him a little bit more speed. I'm on the outside here. There's not a whole lot of room for me. I'm losing grip as I go to the outside there, and somewhere in there I've damaged part of my front wing. Räikkönen has also made the move on me finally, and Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, and I believe that's Carlos Sainz in the Renault, catching me very quickly. I move to the inside for the first chicane here, but I get a wheel on the grass, and I can't brake as well as I want to. I'm forced to go through the runoff area here onto the grass. Somewhere in there, the front wing damage has actually increased, so half my front wing is now yellow. And now the other Renault, actually, I think that's Carlos Sainz in the second Renault and Nico Hülkenberg ahead. No, other way around. They've actually caught up to me. So now in the pit stop here on lap 10, I'm going to have to get a brand new front wing. The loss of time there is actually going to cost me a lot. I'm down in last position, aside from Vettel, who has, of course, DNF'd. So I've got work to do as we head on to the second half of this Grand Prix, the second stint, now on medium tires. Beginning at lap 11, there's some others who have made pit stops, including my teammates, so I make up a few positions. I'm back up to 15th, but at this point I've lost enough time that I'm going to have to do a lot of work if I want to catch up to back where I was. I do see this big train of cars in front of me. I'm hoping they'll start fighting, slowing each other down once they get into the same corner at the same time. Past the Toro Rosso of Brendan Hartley on lap 12. There we go, some more places made up in the pit stops. And now, here we come to lap 13 down the front straightaway again, and my prayers have been answered. The big gaggle of cars up in front of me are fighting, and they're slowing each other down now. Hello, friends! Friendly greeting from me as I catch up to the back of them here. Hamilton and Bottas, both of the Renaults, and I think both of the Saubers as well, all scrapping in this fight here. It's going to be a difficult situation to make a move, but I move to the inside of Hamilton, just barely avoid tapping his front wing with a tire there. I try for the move on Bottas. There's a bit of a awkward moment there. I can't get on the power, and Bottas will actually squeeze me out there and retain the position. So he's got that still on the front straightaway. Hamilton is coming back at me. Here comes Brendan Hartley in the Toro Rosso, who actually got some slipstream and DRS off of him as well and has dragged his way up here. I dive to the inside to try to keep the position. A little bit over the curbs there. It's pretty difficult to make it work. Hartley still right there. Hamilton just behind him. I'm forced to let Hartley go. Hamilton is still right there. He's got good acceleration. I will actually end up keeping the position as he's forced to move to the outside there. I just about managed to hold on to it. Trying to stay close to Hartley here. I've got DRS. I'm just close enough for that. Hamilton right up my gearbox as we head into Ascari once again. But there's some locking up, and there's a bit of an accident there. Hamilton's actually touched Bottas. There's a massive crash there. Hamilton has had to stop there on track. I think he's out. I'm not sure exactly who caused what there, but I'm going to be able to play a replay here. We'll see. Coming down that straightaway underneath the old track. into Ascari. Bottas and one of the Renaults. It's Bottas with the lockup, and they collide. There's Bottas as he tries to get going. He claps Hamilton's front wheel and knocks it off. So I'm just managed to squeeze through between Bottas and that Renault. So I'm up to 11th place. But that's awfully tricky here. I finally get a calm moment in this Grand Prix up around lap 16. But the problem is now I actually can't gain ground to Bottas and to Hartley in front of me. For some reason, they are able to keep each other going at a good pace here. You can see by lap 19 it hasn't improved, and the sky is actually starting to get cloudy. There's been rain forecast for the end of this Grand Prix, sort of like in the French Grand Prix, but I'm not looking forward to it this time. I'm on the hardest compound tire, and by then they will be worn out and possibly cooling down. Here's the rain arriving on lap 21, and Nico Hulkenberg, who's got some good pace, up my inside at the Parabolica. So I'm running out of grip here, I'm running out of options. I don't have the pace, I'm losing out. Gasly behind me is actually closing in as well. Here a couple laps later, I believe on lap 24, this is Lance Stroll going down the back straightaway, and he will also suffer an engine failure in similar fashion to Sebastian Vettel. So my teammate Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel are out of this Grand Prix. It's on lap 23 actually that happened, and on the same lap I come into the pits. I've decided that I have had enough of this rain running in slick tires. I'm going to make a switch to intermediates and just see if improved pace on intermediates can get me anywhere. Turns out to be a decent decision at the time as I pass Gasly next lap, who had also stopped for intermediates, and I can see a train up in front of me there. I catch Stoffel Van Dorn on lap 25. We can see here the difference between his worn slicks and my fresh inters. A little bit of contact though, but I've got a little bit more confidence up the inside, a little bit more pace, and there we go. That was fairly easy. Fernando Alonso, we can see the difference there in the acceleration zone especially. I'm able to get past him very easily indeed. And up next will be Kevin Magnussen, so I'm able to overtake him for 12th. Here we go, fighting on the front straightaway. We've got some better grip, better traction as we head down the front straightaway there. You can see I've got better top speed. I'm able to use rich revs where he probably isn't. He'd spin his tires out way too much. And there we go, into the first corner. So we've got that move done. Unfortunately though, Hulkenberg in front of us is able to make his stop unimpeded. We're only able to improve to 12th, so not a great result here.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And that race was so chaotic, in fact, that the game actually didn't show me a lot of the bringing the cars into Parc Fermé sequence that we sometimes get, and I've lost a little bit of footage from the podium. But regardless, there is Sergio Perez bringing home the first ever win, I believe for him, and I believe the first win for Force India. His teammate Esteban Ocon will bring it home for a 1-2 for Force India, and Daniel Ricciardo will actually make it a 1 Red Bull on the podium, ahead of Max Verstappen, who was somewhere ahead of me, though I don't remember exactly where. It'll show here in a second. But that'll be a big improvement in the championship standings for Ricciardo, and there's Max Verstappen in 4th, up from 11th. Pretty good race for Red Bull. Decent for Kimi Räikkönen, he's up to 5th place, but still, with the loss of Vettel from the Grand Prix, Ferrari lose out a lot of points to Constructors' Championship standing, and Red Bull continue to pull further ahead. Verstappen, I think, is gaining on Vettel's position in the championship, and Ricciardo continues to extend his advantage, so we're running out of races. We're into the final third of the season where anyone can challenge that Red Bull. Thank you very much for watching this episode. It was a chaotic one, and have a nice day.